Can you hear me here? Welcome to this evening's meeting of Woodbury County Board of Adjustment. Today's date is May 6th. The time is 6 p.m. Tonight's meeting will be audio taped and minutes will be prepared. In respect to all parties, we ask that those present turn off your cell phones or set them to vibrate. Those in attendance are asked to legibly complete the attendance sheet upon the front table. I'd like to take a moment to review the procedures that the board will follow tonight. First, the board will handle the normal housekeeping agenda items. Then for each application on the agenda, I will open the public hearing on the item. The planning and zoning staff will then present the staff report, including the staff recommendation. Any letters and other communication received from the public prior to the hearing will be entered into the record. The applicant will then have the opportunity to present his or her case and respond to the staff report. Next, we will hear comments from the public. If you would like to speak, either in support of or against the application, you must come to the microphone. Please state your name and address for the record. All interested parties shall be heard, but repetitious comments should be avoided if possible. Repetitious or irrelevant comments may be ruled out of order by the chair. I ask that you remain respectful and courteous with your comments at all times. After all public comments have been heard, the staff and applicant may make a closing statement. The hearing shall then be closed by motion and vote. Therefore, no further comments from the staff, public, or applicant may be heard unless asked for by the board. The board shall then deliberate the case and may ask questions of the applicant, the staff, or any party offering testimony. However, such questions do not reopen the hearing for additional comments from the public unless so requested or approved by the board. The board will then formulate and vote on a motion. The motion will typically either grant or deny the requested application. Any board member who has an ex parte communication to place in the record of this meeting should do so prior to the beginning of deliberation of the respective agenda item. Any person desiring to appeal the board's decision to a court of record may do so within 30 days after the filing of this decision with the Planning and Zoning Office. The first item on our agenda is election of 2018 chairperson and vice chairman. And I would ask the sitting board members, there's only 3 here, there's usually 5, that perhaps we defer that until the rest of our the full board is available. You make a motion if we do that?
I'll make a motion. Sorry.
We have a motion and seconded that we defer the election of the 2019 chairperson and vice chairperson. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, same sign.
Could have assigned that, yes.
What's that?
That's what happens when you don't show up, you get assigned.
Well, that's, well, there's some other words to describe that action too, you know, revenge or. Any citizen wishing to be heard regarding a non-agenda item? Anybody have anything along those lines out there? A non-agenda item that you want to visit about?
I'm assuming I'm on the agenda, so, okay.
You don't have an agenda?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, the next agenda item is, I guess,
The minutes.
yeah, that'd be the next agenda item. This next agenda item is approval of the minutes from the board's December 3rd, 2018 meeting. Have all the members had a chance to take a look?
I have just a couple, I think, very minor points that maybe clarification may be missing. Top of page 3, the third sentence, and it says, parking would be monitored and no parking signs would be placed. I think if we could either capitalize no and parking or put them in hyphens, I should say. So we're actually talking about no parking signs and not no parking signs. I had to read are parking signs, and I think that should, the R should not be part of that. See where I'm
Any other comments concerning the minutes?
Then, I'm sorry, on page 4, in the bulleted items, the third from bottom bullet, there's either too many or too few words. Again, it's about no parking signs. Should it become necessary along county roads because for the event center attendees? And that,
You're in the
I'm on page 4.
third bullet up from the bottom?
Third bullet up from the bottom.
On the first set of bullets, or two sets, the one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the second set of bullets,
Yeah,
then.
bottom set of bullets.
So its owners must pay, it starts out.
Yes.
So what do you want to do, Kate?
I'm not really sure what we're trying to achieve with that sentence. Must pay for. In case.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Event center attendees. Because for the event center.
I think just owners must pay for any no parking signs, should they become necessary along county road.
Period.
And
And then delete because the event center employees who pursue, delete that.
I think what the intent of that was when the county engineer saw in his statement, if that became an issue, then it
Right.
would lead to that.
Right.
That's what that says. Owners must pay for any no parking signs should they become necessary along county roads. Yeah, unless you want to put it in there that should be determined by the county engineer or something like that. Anything else? Any other questions by any of the board members? Your motion to approve as modified?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, or not in favor, same sign. It's unanimous. Okay. The next item is public hearing for a conditional use permit. First American Site Acquisition Incorporated on behalf of U.S. COC of the Greater Iowa Limited Liability Corporation proposes to construct a 275-foot self-supporting telecommunication tower on land leased from James G. Kirkendall and J.W. Kirkendall in the southwest quarter of Section 30, Sloan Township on parcel 844629351011 north of Highway 41 of Iowa Highway 41, that's 141 should read, it's a state primary road, and east of Interstate 29 and west Old US 75. The property is in the Agricultural Preservation AP zoning district. The property is also located in the floodplain, Zone A, and will be subject to a county floodplain development permit.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Floyd, would you mind repeating that parcel ID number?
864629351011.
Sorry, thank you.
Is that right? Do you need cheaters? No.
I thought I heard a different number.
Okay.
Maybe you did. Okay.
okay, just to kind of go over some of the basic items here. This, the legal notification was published in the Sioux City Journal Legal section on April 19th, 2019 for this Board of Adjustment meeting tonight, May 6th at 6 o'clock p.m. Property owners, 655 within 1 mile, were notified by letter of this evening's meeting. As of April 29th, according to what's in the packet, additional information had not been received, but we had received a written statement from Northern Natural Gas, which I have laid on the table for the board members to be placed in the record. Also, we've had a couple informal, a phone call, one that wasn't pertinent to the situation that asked about signal, which isn't involved affecting television. Then we had another one where a property owner just south of the property had contacted us and just was concerned about the setbacks and meeting a minimum, and just would like to ask if the applicants would consider pushing the site back to the north a little bit further. But those are kind of the comments that we had received in addition to what was placed in the packet. As you will see within the packet, those other comments were posted. Page 7 refers to the DNR's comment about elevation in terms of the tower. We also had received information from the county engineer regarding the various permits in addition to right-of-way that the applicants were subjected to. And as you will see, that this is a conditional use permit, and the criteria that the Board of Adjustment must consider this is based on section 2.02-9 of the Woodbury County zoning ordinance, which was passed in 2008. And before I get into some of those details, I do need to point out that the Iowa legislature in 2015 did pass amendments to Iowa Code 8C, which does have some concepts in there which local governments cannot do in terms of regulation, and there are 13 of them, and I will very briefly kind of mention that it is not the role of the local government to require an application to submit information about service design, customer demand, quality of service. It is not the local government's role to force any type of co-location, dictate the transmission equipment or technology to be used, require the removal of existing towers, base stations, transmission equipment as a condition, impose any type of environmental testing, sampling, monitoring of transmissions, emissions, etc., regulate radio frequency, signal design, service quality, reject the application based on perceived or alleged environmental effects of radio transmission, prohibit the placement of emergency power systems that comply with federal and state environmental requirements, charge an application fee, consulting fee, or other fee associated with submission review processing that is basically separate or different from other commercial development, impose surety requirements to ensure removal or abandoned or unused towers, equipment unless imposed, condition approval on agreement to allow co-location at less than market rate, limit the duration of approval of an application, discriminate on the basis of ownership of any property, structure, or tower when promulgating rules or procedures for siting wireless facilities or evaluating application. Now, based on the ordinance, there are a set of criteria that are enumerated in the packet, but before I mention those, it's imperative to mention with the Zoning Commission what they had recommended to this board. And on Monday, April 22nd, 2019, the Woodbury County Zoning Commission reviewed this proposal based on section 2.02-9. In the review process, the commission individually evaluated and they voted on each criteria separately as enumerated in the ordinance. And with 4 zoning commissioners present, each item was passed by a 4-0 vote. And so a motion was made and passed to forward this to the Board of Adjustment with the understanding that all conditions and criteria can be met that comply with federal, state, local, and federal regulation. And so to kind of go through the staff findings, basically the staff would reiterate that the recommendation is to carefully follow through on the conditional use criteria as enumerated in the ordinance procedures. It's imperative to note that we had reached out to Bill Cappuccio with the Iowa DNR, the floodplain management engineer, who had reviewed the case, and by virtue of it being within that flood zone A, It was stated that anything separate than the tower, maybe electrical type equipment or supporting concepts would be elevated. The tower itself would not have to be elevated to 1 foot, but floodproofing would be key of those separate structures of value. The setback situation as provided in the materials the applicant provided, it's important to look at the way the ordinance mentions drop zone and the location. Normally we would start, probably all of us, to look at what the zoning district standard is, and it would end up being 100 feet in an AP. Then as we go back further and look in 5.05 of the ordinance, it kind of defines the drop zone in a way of either being from the base to the top if there is no engineer's report provided.
Drop zone means fall.
Yeah, the fall zone.
If it was fall, okay.
Yeah, and so the applicants were able to provide us with a setback scenario provided by their engineer's certification of a 140 based setback there. You will also see within the, if you've looked at Beacon and you see that was printed out, you'll see that there is a parcel to the west that is close. And the applicants have been working with the landowner in terms of contacting the assessor's office, which they have, to combine those parcels so that there would be no issue there with the rest.
Kirkendall's on both parcels or
Yeah.
two? Okay.
Kirkendall's have control of both parcels, and they met the full criteria for an assessor's combination, so there would be no issue with that. The staff recommendation also highlights much of what I had just read out about 8C and being aware of the 8C requirements of Iowa code. And also the staff report had mentioned, again, as I stated, the floodplain requirements as well as any of the other permitting requirements, which you'll see from the paperwork, the work and right-of-way permit from the county engineer, and much of those other requirements have been met by the applicant. So going back to the various criteria, if we go through, and it kind of how the board would choose to look at each criteria, it would be up to you, but I do think that it's imperative to go back, and as we enter into the record, the Northern Natural Gas statement that went out as well. This, I believe Thursday is when that was presented from Jason Godwin of Northern Natural Gas, had submitted a letter and a site plan. And basically he said Northern Natural Gas operates high-pressure natural gas pipelines in the immediate vicinity of this proposed telecommunications tower. And they provided an aerial photo, and they said Northern safety standards require that all towers be located a minimum of 1.2 times the tower height from our pipelines. In this instance, the proposed 275 height of the tower would prescribe a minimum offset of 330 feet from Northern's pipeline. Northern requests the cell tower be located 330 feet from that respective pipeline. So that's what I have.
What I was referring to earlier in my question, they submitted this Northern Natural Gas, submitted this overhead map, and it shows the area of their pipeline and the proposed area of the cell tower, but it doesn't give the distance of what the proposed is from that pipeline. Do we have anything to kind of determine what that would be? Do they even have any standing?
Yeah, at this point, for the record, I contacted the applicant that submitted to this to Julie Schubeck, and she had mentioned to me that they were going to look at that through their engineering department. So
There was another item of concern that I was too, that the cell tower owner got a permit to clear the snow off a roadway that goes into the parcel, but that's public right-of-way, and there's a right-of-way line there. And the engineering report for the cell tower indicated that they need to provide for a 140-foot crumple zone radius for that tower. So I don't know if that is meant by that right-of-way line, that distance from that right-of-way line. I do not know. Did you contact?
The county engineer had reviewed the numbers, he had the site plan, and he did not see a major issue based on that 140.
So it meets
Yeah.
that distance?
Yeah.
Okay. But so now the biggest criteria would be the natural gas line, I would think. And it'll be a while before that resolves. All you can do is have a surveyor go out, locate the gas line, and then
Good evening, my name is Julie Shebeck, my address is 2124 Larry Drive, Northeast Cedar Rapids, and I am here on behalf of USCOC of Greater Iowa LLC. Along with me, I have Dan White, who's the project manager with US Site, and I got Scott Spence, who is construction manager with GSS Midwest. Mr. Priestley did a nice job of presenting the information. Basically, what this site is part of U.S. Siler's bill to come into the Sioux City in the northwest part of the market for the state. They're really excited about this, so this is just one of the components to that bill. We are, as you mentioned, on the county, we did need good permission or right-of-way permit from them to remove snow as needed on that road because that little frontage road just north of Highway 141 is not really maintained or used much. So we have been in compliance with that. Come to find out, it is owned by both the county and the city of Sloan, and we have also gotten that permission from the city of Sloan as well. So that is okay with that. In regards to the natural gas line, that letter that has been presented, the U.S. Siler designed this tower as with a fall zone letter, as Mr. Priestley mentioned. We worked with the landowner to place the tower in the field what we felt was great for him and not to be least obtrusive for his farming. Having said that, the fall zone in that letter is for Sabres, how they designed the tower. So if it would come over, the towers don't fall over like trees and they don't bounce, they kind of collapse on themselves. So that is why we have that 140-foot fall zone, so it does not encroach on that road. We feel with the 140 feet, we are meeting that natural gas line's requirement of the 1.2 distance, because if we come up with our half of our tower height, 1 times 2 is 165 feet. We Googled it, did our measurements on our side, and we feel as if the distance from the base of the tower to that gas line is about 200 feet. So we do feel as if that we are in a good distance from them based on how we designed our tower and based on kind of that 1.2 that they are requesting. So
I would think, I'm going to make a statement here, but I think I'm okay with this. I would think that has to be a written agreement or two between you and the gas line owner, that they approve that location and they're okay with what you're doing.
that you're in a condition?
Just a question,
Yeah.
is you guys, I think Sabre came up with this number, 140 feet is the whole zone.
Correct, yeah. Correct. Well, that's how we have it, that's how we've chosen to have it designed, correct.
And that was one of my questions earlier, and I'll revisit here in just a second, but the Northern Natural Gas is requesting 1.2 times the tower height, which is the 330. So those two numbers don't jive, which I'm not saying you're wrong, they're wrong.
Right.
But,
So the end of your crumple zone should be at that,
well, the
that-
crumple zone and the height of the tower are two different things.
the crumple zone, oh,
And
that's
where
right, you're right.
That's where I was
Correct.
coming with my question. Does Northern Natural Gas have any legal standing since they said this is what they require? I mean,
That's a good question.
I require to catch up on my French fries.
Yeah.
You know,
I would think that
I guess that was my question on that part.
I would think that their requirements would supersede, have to be met.
I guess.
And if
I'd
they
have
do
to
or
ask
don't-
Why you feel that way, because I mean, if they went to the Kirkendalls, the landowners, for the easement, and they gave the easement, it's,
They probably don't have 175-foot easement or.
yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think it was even documented in there, so we're not, I mean, I guess I mean, in our minds, we understand it, you know, from a safety standards, I understand that. But again, their mentality, and I'm certainly not gonna speak for them, but I guess I'm assuming that their mentality is that a 275-foot tower comes over, it's going to encroach and come onto their property and onto their area. But again, towers do not fall over like trees. The Sabre Tower letter is there to state that, hey, we are designing this tower with the soils and everything that we've done, that it would fall inward on themselves. So we feel as if how we designed the tower, that we are in no way encroaching or jeopardizing them and how we placed it.
From my point of view, is I understand that completely.
Right.
I have no doubt, and the engineers at Sabre definitely know what they're doing. And when that tower falls,
Yeah.
it's gonna fall within the number that they say.
Correct.
There's no question about that in my book, but they're requesting a certain amount, and I'm asking, can they just, they might request it 1.5 times, or, I mean, what's their basis for their rights to do that? I mean, if it's written into the easement when that line was put through, then it's probably recorded on the abstract, and then that abstract would have precedence over that.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe not, I don't know.
I think that's probably true.
But they
Yeah, it
might
would
not
be.
do that either.
I don't know.
I guess I'm kind of touching legal standings here, I don't know, we can't make that choice without.
Is anybody here from that gas company?
No, we're with US Sailor as well. Daniel White, 12020 Ridgemont Drive, Riverdale. I don't believe that there was anything recorded easement by Northern Natural Gas that specifies even with what they intended.
I would think for them to have the right to say that, it would almost have to be recorded. Or would it, I'm not a lawyer, I don't even pretend to be.
Well, when a utility like that's put into the ground, there's certain paperwork associated with it, what can or cannot be done around it.
And that would make that,
So if we don't have that, we can't address that, and we can't address that until we know. And it probably will overrule, well, I think it would overrule. There would be a requirement to be met by you
it's
folks.
recorded,
Yeah.
but.
We need to find out,
That would
and
be
I,
between them and the landowner.
I mean, I agree. We're assuming that the concern is toppling onto laying on a,
right?
I'm assuming that's the case.
By their safety.
I think we
The
need,
reality is it falls over,
it's not gonna hurt the line, maybe,
you would think.
but I think we need some agreement from the the gas company, Northern Natural Gas. I don't think we'd make that assumption here for them.
And this is a question for you guys. If we went through with our normal decision-making process and decided to either grant or deny, if we decided to grant, we could actually put wordage in there to make sure that everything is.
That just be met, that requirement.
That all those requirements have been addressed in that.
I don't know, that's
So
pretty,
we kind of-
Could you put it contingent on obtaining the building permit, to show the documentation of it, that we have somehow done our due diligence or somehow figured it out, if there was anything documented?
you could do that. It could be made a requirement of the building permit, that be settled.
Or some type
Documented.
of a document stating if there was anything, I guess I'm just trying to look for the clarification for sure, so I understand what exactly you're looking for. Is that if there's anything documented, that they have a,
Recorded easement that's.
Yeah, if they have the legal right to say 1.2 times the height of the tower.
I mean, because ultimately,
Just because they put it down.
if we get to a situation where we don't know about what's been recorded, what's the legal standing on their request, and if it's not upheld, I think that's step one.
Yeah, that'd be my concern. If they make this statement, which they've made, we want 1.2, we require, or whatever that, the wording was on.
Sure.
Do they have legal standing to make that statement?
okay.
That, you know, if they do, then,
Yeah.
then you guys have a problem to overcome.
Correct.
If they don't, then it's probably just.
Then it's
a-
probably
it's
a matter of,
Yeah, it's a moot.
legality of it.
Yeah, but, you know, if we granted it, let's say we just granted, yeah, you can do this and make all of our provisions on there, and then all of a sudden, they're legally correct with their requirement, then that might cause a problem that we should address.
I don't know if that would have to be in the easement. The way this is written here, northern safety standards require that all towers be located a minimum distance of 1.2 times the tower height from our pipelines. That's a standard their safety standard, and why would they authorize violation of their safety standard, whether it's in an agreement, an easement, or not?
They might not have the authority to authorize or not.
I don't know. I don't know.
Typically, what I've seen, it's protected through an easement, through a recorded.
It would have to,
easement.
I would think that when they got this easement through here, they would have had to put that wording in that easement, that although our easement's a work easement, this 20 feet or 40 feet each side of that line.
Well, that easement should also be recorded in an addendum to the abstract for your property.
Yeah, that's what.
So
it should be.
what's your abstract say?
I'd have to-
You don't know, I know. You've probably never even seen it.
This is new ground.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at the ordinance in 5.05, when they discuss the setbacks too, this becomes a very unique scenario here because we're looking specifically at the setbacks and of the zoning district as well as the fall zone. So it's just unique that all of a sudden this pops up here, that line is in there.
Yeah.
So,
And they were there first.
But we don't know what that line, this could be all moved, it could be 350 feet away. We don't know,
Yeah.
there's not really any way to scale it.
Well, they mark them, but the only person that you can really contact, I guess, is Northern Gas would have to come out and locate their pipeline. And then you'd have to have your suggested tower location located, and just, you're gonna have to determine, will it meet there?
Unless this is just an inside the company, inner office, requirement, they might just say. no,
I don't know, I don't think we can brush something like that off. It's,
what
that's pretty serious, a high-pressure gas line, and the concerns that they have with, the integrity of their easement and the location of it. I don't know, we could,
Can I suggest that we go through this as we normally would, and maybe put something like that as a condition if is chosen to approve it? And if it's,
I think that's where we're headed, but it's gonna have to get resolved before a building permit can be issued.
Correct.
but then that way we would be standing in the road of it if it's all good. Well, you guys are in the
Yeah.
right. I'm not saying anybody's in the right or wrong. You
Yeah.
guys are more accurate than theirs is, but if they're more accurate than you are, then
we're gonna.
yeah.
We can start off by just contacting the right of way of Northern Natural Gas and ask them if it's Iowa code or, I guess, and just explain,
Well, they'll probably need to determine the distance between the two. If it's 400 feet, then geez, why waste
You
any
feel
time?
it's 200?
Well, yeah, I mean, based on, was that your calculation, Scott? Okay, so just based, yeah, just,
200 feet off.
yeah, that's what, I mean, that was our, kind of based on where we know we're at, and so that's where we think.
Just based on assumptions.
Right,
you're
no,
200 feet from the edge of
from
your
from the base of the tower to that gas line.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're thinking.
So it
So-
could fall into the zone where it's questionable who's got the,
Well, they've got the 140-foot radius,
Yes.
and the national gas line is
and I believe
calculating
140
differently,
probably accurate.
and I'd love to know what
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
And so, and maybe Northern Natural Gas is just fine with that. Maybe they don't have legal standing to say
And
you
that,
can't do that.
right, and that's what Scott Spence just mentioned, he's like, more than likely, just given the timing of this letter, that these folks, the Northern Natural Gas, probably don't even know about our fall zone or our fall zone letter or something like that, so yeah, but we didn't know, if we should have contacted, we didn't know we should contact them beforehand this meeting or what exactly, because we did have that fall zone letter in place, and that's how we designed the tower, so So yeah, so I guess that.
And did they review any technical information, or did they just review the notice and then respond?
They received a notice pretty much like everybody else, and what they sent, they basically replied to our 655 letter. And they included the original letter there,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So.
I was, there's things that are going through my mind about when somebody is going to build something, you would make an effort to know what's in the area that you, where we're not impact, be it above the ground or be it below the ground. And it's news to you that the gas line is there, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, actually.
So maybe you didn't do your job?
No, I wouldn't say that at all, because I feel that the combination of us three, as well as the rest of the team, that we have several years of experience, and I feel very confident that we do our job very well. Given, having said that, there is the area where we're at is a bunch of scrub trees, and Scott, you may have to step in, because I was not the one. But is it the base or the transformer or something? Is that what it was? It was across the road or something? I guess what I'm trying to say is, and Scott will probably have to step in here to correct me, is I don't think that it was visible to us when we were there on site, and we were on site a couple different times.
Gas
And-
company usually
Yeah.
mark their lines pretty clear. It's on right-of-way lines, on roadways, and when it crosses right-of-ways.
That's probably not on a lot of maps, and that's.
No, it might not be.
But
But physical survey is part of investigation, site
Well,
investigation.
right, and our surveyor, our surveyor did not see it, and that's, and
Yeah.
he's been doing this for years, and this is one of the things that he always.
So there's an overlook here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
The title company, usually, if the surveyor happened to miss something, the title company would.
Okay, let's leave it at this. You're gonna have to find out what the gas company thinks. And I don't know how we're gonna deal with setbacks and what would predominate. My mind tells me they were there first, so their criteria would control. But don't suppose anything that we don't know.
And as far as the line and the distance between where we stand tonight, we don't have any standing other than to make sure that that is addressed.
Well, and for clarification too, as I go back and look, Northern was actually on our contact list too.
Okay.
So they ended up replying to the letter, but they were initially contacted, and they, of course, their comments came after the printing of the packet as well, so. But based on the setback situation, the ordinance does leave us in terms of just looking at it, in terms of the zoning district based on what the engineer had reported.
Yeah.
So.
So you're good there.
In terms of the fall zone that they report on, our ordinance gives the latitude to the certified engineer. Basically, they tell us what the setbacks
That's right.
are.
And that was certified by a registered engineer.
When it comes to fall zones, the only problem that you see we have is possibly the potential one for the lead pipeline.
Yeah, and again, we don't have that exact distance there, but if you have a 140 there, it really depends, like as the board has been saying, about what their opinion is on past practices. And
Yeah.
we don't know at this point if there's a lot of precedent of towers near those lines.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion we move on?
Well, how do we deal with the gray area then? Is it in the building permit? And
Well, if I may, they have, of course, submitted several application materials to get to this point,
Right.
including a building permit, including a floodplain development permit, the right-of-way permit, et cetera. And if we go back again to our criteria in 2.02-9, it's imperative that we see how that fits for the conditional use, because the role of the board is to see if this can operate within that respective zoning district. The building permit is another document that is reviewed as well through a site plan to see that it fits within the zoning district dimensional standards. So those are some things to keep in mind as well.
I guess the thing that's really going through my mind is we got two utilities that maybe have different criteria as far as location. What if you met that would that be a problem? What the northern, is that an issue or not? I mean, you haven't built anything there yet.
All our state and federal filings need to be redone. Would have to be, if we moved it, we're out. Essentially, what you do when you build a tower is you get a 1A letter that states this is the point where you're building the tower. Yeah, exactly.
So you got the GPS coordinates and everything nailed down, huh?
Yeah, and so everything's based on that. If you move it without that,
Yeah.
it'd have to go.
Well,
We got to get this resolved between the two
can I
utilities.
make this suggestion that we go through with the rest of the process, and then when we get to this point here, that we always have our provisions in there, conditions to our conditional use permit, that we state a condition, however it needs to be worded, that this problem needs to be resolved by those decision makers that would resolve it.
Yeah.
Because it's not really, unless we make it our decision. I mean,
No, it shouldn't be our decision.
no, that's why.
I just have this thing running through my mind that the utility that was there first was gas line, and I think you need to be careful with that. And maybe there was something lacking on your siting plans or
But they might
get
not.
information gathering. But I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, they just sent us
But,
letters that might not have they might have all the backing, like I said, the
Yeah.
railroad.
Yeah.
They're pretty close to
Yeah.
the same amount of cloud, probably not quite as much, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we got another duck to get in the line. All right. I'm okay with that. But it's going to have to be resolved, and we're going to have to know, the county's going to have to know how that came about, and I suppose that'd be you and Dave. That
Yeah, and I would suspect, and it'd be something I'd want to double check on the county attorney's office, but I would suspect that if we've got a change in the legal description, then we're gonna have to probably re-notice, and go through those motions again. I think something administratively that, we wouldn't need to, do a whole new permit application, we could just amend your existing one, but.
Oh, we'd
I think
hope-
that's
yeah, we'd hope
something-
not.
Combining two parcels.
there's codified or in the administrative rules too that deals with underground utilities and installation of them too, that they have to follow when they put them in, and I don't know how they enter. I don't know how that, you talk about an easement and criteria, and is that a criteria or not? It might have been when they installed it initially,
When they still initially installed.
They have, when they have an easement, the easement says something, and the utility, but the utility, underground utilities have some criteria they need to follow too, state code. So,
So what other things do we need to address on this, other than the pipeline location?
I don't think anything.
It appears that'd be the only thing there.
What
Probably.
was the reason that the person who lives south wanted it moved further north?
He feels that it's this meeting the setbacks basically at a minimum.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he's just looking to see if it was possible to move it further north.
Is that the owner of the property on the south side of it?
Kind of, but they got the right of way in between there, and so yes.
He's got all that stuff
There's some
laying
actual
out there.
between the two.
What do you think? I'm asking the applicant now, does that seem like that'd work out best for you in the building permit? And it's got to be resolved, or I don't know how it's gonna shake out. You may have to redo everything. You may have to, I don't know.
Yeah, I think if there's something recorded in the easement that says any accessory structures need to be X amount of feet off of our easement line or something to that effect, I think we would have no choice, but we'd have to move.
Is it really, my guess is when they put that pipeline in, there was no such thing as a cell tower.
What's
Yeah,
that?
probably not.
Well,
Exactly. Yeah.
but you could build
I don't know
anything.
what it is, so
You could build anything there.
Yeah.
Right.
So they've got to protect their investment. And I don't know how they've done it, if it's codified, if it's in an easement or not. And if you were there first, it's the same problem there. They'd have to,
But what we also don't know is if their engineer's letter that talks about the crumple zone would satisfy their northern gas.
It may,
safety
yeah.
requirements.
It may,
So I think that's a conversation that has to be had that's outside of this meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, however it gets resolved, it's got to be put in writing to be a part of this
It's
permit.
probably an exchange of your lawyers and talk to their lawyer.
Yeah.
You want to come back to the microphone?
Yeah, I guess that's just one of the questions I wanted to ask is, I know that the gentleman right here mentioned, you know, reaching out to them. Do you want, I mean, I don't want to, you know, bombard them with you guys calling us, calling everything. So I guess I wanted to kind of get some direction on what you folks want us to do. Do you want us to reach out to them and kind of explain to them and then do the due diligence, to do the homework, and then just say, okay, whatever we figure out then, you know, if there isn't nothing, you know, legally that they can do, it's just maybe like their desire or something that, okay, you're gonna have to write a letter, follow-up letter, or, you know, what, that type of thing.
That probably should be the way it should happen.
Okay.
And they're going to have to agree to it, and I don't, and
They may or
somehow
may
we
not.
have to, they've got to have a permit to do what they've done on that land. And,
I mean, I would think that we'd have to find an easement, or, I mean, even in talk, like, you know, you referenced the abstract, just to visit with the Kirkendalls, to put the abstract, if there was something in there, or, you know,
It'd be some wordage towards that easement going through there.
right,
Usually they have construction
right, okay.
things.
Anything else?
So.
should we close the meeting and then go
Is there
into,
anything that you had suggested for conditions to the zoning district?
Well, I guess I would say that I would recommend approval with the condition that the applicant provide written acknowledgement or agreement with Northern Natural Gas on the exact location of,
that both parties agree?
yeah.
Other than the gas line, there's no specific wording that you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's,
We
yeah.
need- We need to go through the criteria though ourselves.
That is the path the zoning commission had recommended, so.
That's up to each
it
item.
just-
So the public part of the meeting is closed. The,
Make a motion, we close.
make a motion, yeah.
Second?
All in favor, say the same sign, close the meeting.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting's closed. And Dave, you had a suggestion for,
Yeah, I would, need to, motion to approve approval with the condition that the applicant provide, the department with, written
agreement,
agreement on the
location of the,
proximity or the location of the tower in proximity to the gas line.
right,
Mutual understanding between the two. And there's a possibility that they may say, no, you can't build it there, but they might not have the right to tell you that either. They
Yeah.
probably do, yeah, but they might not. But as long as those two come to some type of an agreement, in the absence of that, you have to have,
yeah.
It's gotta be,
provide some type of legal right.
yeah, legal right, not a safety standard per se, I would think would be more applicable. I mean, obviously, we wanna adhere to safety standards always, but is that just a?
I don't put any, we're not gonna put that in, I don't think that belongs in their safety standard.
The toughest part
That's-
is to get the wording correct.
That utility is kind of a cell phone thing, and they have their certain criteria, and you have to respect it. And you may not like the way it shakes out, but that'd be too bad. Because I guess my personal opinion is, when you're doing a site survey, you should have known it was there. You should have known where and the proximity. And if we went to a court of law, that would be no excuse, I'm sure. That's what site surveys are all about. So, all in favor of that, approving that
Well, do we have
location
to
and,
base the individual criteria points here first then? Is that what you're saying?
It's.
You wanna read it again, or what?
It's up to the board in terms of looking at the criteria or taking that motion.
Since planning and zoning asked for it. So we probably should look at each individual criteria point to meet planning and zoning's request then.
say that again? Oh, okay,
Planning and zoning asked us to look at each,
yeah.
what's there, 1 through 4?
Six.
6. Each got their table once more. And they had already gone through them and
Yeah.
felt comfortable with that, we need to to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and just for the record, they reviewed it before that letter too.
This,
Okay,
we have a motion on the table. Did you want to,
We need,
do we know what the notion, go ahead.
to comply with planning and zoning's request, we need to, we should look at each individual criteria point. Correct, yeah. So we need to look at each individual
Okay.
criteria.
All right.
And probably agree with or disagree if that's the case. Do we want to read
And
through?
is it,
Yeah,
should we vote on each criteria the same way planning and zoning did? Or is there any,
they did do that. I think kind of in this situation, it's going to probably entail similar to the language David had mentioned, but it's probably be helpful to do that since they did that, depending.
My opinion, I think that if the board wants to acknowledge or receive the zoning commission's recommendation, you know, or if you want to, you know, spend the time and do each one, otherwise, I
think in line with a rather weighty situation that we can't put our thumbs on at the moment, we can't, you know, the scales to go either way, I think we should be on record as doing due diligence and go through each criteria.
Merit. Yeah. Well,
Okay, I can go.
How about, would that work, Dan, if you just read through?
I can go ahead and read through those.
And then we'll
Okay, again, conditional use permits are determined by the following criteria of section 2.02-9. Criteria number 1, the conditional use requested is authorized as a conditional use in the zoning district within which the property is located, and that any specific conditions or standards described as part of the authorization have been or will be satisfied. The applicant stated that the towers are allowed as a conditional use in their application. They have provided the fall zone letter. Let's see, fall zone letter from Sabri Industries states how the tower will be designed, requesting shorter fall zone because of this letter. Worked with landowner on location and field to be least disruptive to farming. USCOC, a Greater Iowa LLC, has obtained the work and right-of-way permits from the county for snow removal, frontage road not maintained. The staff has recognized that this is an allowed conditional use within the AP zoning district, and again, it's recommended to the Board of Adjustment for approval. Criteria number 2. See, the proposed use and development will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance and the goals, objectives, and standards of the general plan. In their application, UFCOC stated that is building into the Sioux City market. The site is part of the build plan. A new telecommunications tower requires a conditional use permit. They stated there's other similar structures in the area. Leasing land in the district, which is allowed conditional use. Location is a ways from residential districts. The staff stated that it appears granting this request will assist with adding to the communication structure of the area. Criteria number 3, the proposed use and development will not have a substantial undue adverse effect upon adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, parking, utility facilities, and other factors affecting the public health, safety, and general welfare. The applicant stated that proposed tower, there's already tall structures in close proximity, grain bin, other tower, location is on the edge of town, close to the interstate. Improved device will help provide coverage for business, personal 911 calls, utilizing frontage road that has little to no traffic on it. City of Sloan has approved letter and application obtaining right of way from county. Tower meets all FAA, FCC guidelines. There is off-road parking at tower compound. And at this time, at the time of the writing, the design of the staff analysis, the design of the property and proposed use clearly distinguish itself as communication structure. There are similar structures in the area, including a tower about 2,000 feet to the west along the north bound ramp of Interstate 29 from Highway 141. The plans submitted appear to acknowledge the parameters of Section 5.05 of the zoning ordinance. Criteria number 4, the proposed use and development will be located, designed, constructed, and operated in a manner that will be compatible with the immediate neighborhood and will not interfere with orderly use, development, and improvement of the property. Applicant response, the tower is strategically located in an area that will meet customer needs of Sloan and those traveling on the interstate. Construction is approximately 6 to 8 weeks. Weather permitting, then tower is considered unmanned. Proposed tower location is a mixture of business and ag. Tower will provide improved use of services, which improve communication, business, personal safety. The proposed staff analysis, the structural analysis report was looked at, and that the tower will be a safe structure, and any future co-location request to add modified equipment. Okay. The plans submitted appear to acknowledge the parameters of Section 5.05 of the ordinance. Section 8C of Iowa Code has been cited here as in conflict of the existing zoning ordinance, and it was stated here that the ordinance would have to be modified to reflect future code. Thus, in light of the code, this must be interpreted by the affidavit as provided by the applicants. Criteria 5, essential public facilities and services will adequately serve the proposed use and development. The applicants stated that USCOC of Greater Siouxland will have a utility easement for power and fiber. No other public facilities will be needed. A staff analysis, once the easements are verified and recorded and other associated permits such as working right of way are granted, the structure should adequately be served. Criteria 6, the proposed use and development will not necessarily result in unnecessary adverse effects upon significant natural, scenic, or historical features of the subject property or adjacent properties. The applicant stated location is in an ag field, already tall structures close by, areas mixed business and agriculture, leasing small amount of land, existing trees help serve as a buffer. Staff analysis, as noted in criteria 3, the design of the property and its proposed use clearly distinguishes itself as a communication structure. It appears it will not adversely impact the specific property. And then there were some other considerations required as well. The proposed use of development at a particular location is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility that is in the public interest or will contribute to the general welfare of the neighborhood or community. Staff analysis, this conditional use permit could be interpreted as a contribution to the local communication infrastructure. All possible efforts, including building and site design, landscaping, screening, have been undertaken to minimize any adverse effects of the proposed use or development. As noted in criteria 3 for staff analysis, the property and its proposed use clearly distinguish itself as a communication structure. There are definitely similar structures in the area, including the tower about 2,000 feet to the west along the northbound on ramp to the Interstate 29. The plans submitted appear to acknowledge the parameters of 5.05. Those are the criteria.
Thank you, Dan. Question, and I just trying to review it when we got there on staff analysis of criteria number 4, where plan submitted appear to acknowledge the parameters of section 5.05 of the zoning ordinance. Please note Iowa Code 8C is in conflict with section 5.05. What is that? Related to this, I think it should be modified. Nothing on it.
That's what this is. This
Okay.
is what's replacing our zone, section.
So this
And-
references
Right.
that. Okay.
And kind of the primary function on that is where the language, where there used to be a parameter, they're on basically forcing a co-location. Now, they would just provide an affidavit stating why they select this location, but the local government can't do anything about
can't
Tell them
make
where-
that conditional.
telling them where to place that.
The easement, is that how you will occupy the land, by easement? Is that right? You will have an easement with a landowner to place the advice and everything there?
Lease the land.
Pardon me?
Yeah, we lease the land from
Yeah.
the.
We lease the land, but then we have an access and a utility easement.
Okay.
So we do both.
So in that criteria, would there be something in there about the crumple zone?
I guess I'm not understanding your question.
That, well, you could build something else on the land, you don't occupy that whole parcel, but you have a crumple zone that you're saying, a fall
The fall zone?
zone,
Uh-huh.
and would that be a part of the easement then? That nobody else could come in there and build something closer than a,
Typically, when we've seen something like that, is there something in the code or in the?
is that like a safety zone or something like that?
No, is there something that's
We restrict that, we would
Yeah.
allow,
Yeah.
we would restrict that through the zoning ordinance.
Somewhere down the line, they wanted to come along and change zoning and build a house there. They
Yeah.
would allow it.
Based on the easement criteria that they would have with the property owner to build the tower.
Based
So, I
on
mean,
inability to get a building permit.
On setback requirements.
okay. I was just wondering, we were talking about safety criteria with an easement for the gas line, and you're talking about,
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly,
it cuts both ways.
well, honestly, I mean, every jurisdiction is really different because you'll go to one county and they'll actually say that you cannot construct or have anything within, an easement, or the landowner, I should say, can't. Then you'll go to another one and there's no setbacks of anything, and you can
Yeah.
have a house, a structure, any type of
Yeah.
anything right next to a tower. And so
The golf course just didn't want it on.
Yeah.
apparently, I guess, I don't know, apparently not. I reached out to him.
But there will be an easement laid out with a property owner that you have the right to occupy. This is your easement that you can, for your purposes, right? And it will be defined probably by that fall zone.
Yeah, it'll be recorded of where our lease area and where our easement area for utility access.
And it will reflect fall zone, right?
No.
No?
No.
It'll be bigger than that?
No, well, no, I mean, right now what we have is, we have a memorandum of lease that would be recorded that would strictly just say the legal descriptions of what the ground space that we're leasing, and then what the access and the utility easements are. So that's the only thing that we have, that we would have recorded, that we will have recorded, that shows our interest on that property.
Okay.
Everybody-
You might not want to say it.
I know where you're going, because.
Well, you can't treat one this way and the other this way, it's
But
a,
it would alleviate our whole situation here if the pipeline had that kind
Yeah.
of criteria in the
Yeah.
original agreement that said.
but if somebody did come into that area and want to build something, we'd know the easement for the tower, but we wouldn't know the restrictions. You'd be sitting here writing a letter saying, our criteria is nobody can build at least 140 feet from the, so I just don't know if that should be in because it is a conditional use. If the landowner said, this is the conditional use or whatever. All right,
And as David said, that would definitely be
Right.
part of the building permit criteria.
right. Are we ready to go then?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just trying to cruise through the Iowa
Are you formulating the,
Public Utility Board to see if
Oh.
I can find any.
You're on Facebook.
no, he wasn't.
I was just
He wouldn't
making
do
sure
that.
I liked the USCOC of Greater Iowa
Yeah.
Facebook page.
Everybody has a Facebook. For myself, other than what we talked about on the initial thing, I don't see things that really concern me. That is a concern, but I think it's real easily addressable, that there are the powers that can take care of that. And you think you have the proper wording to put that in place?
Yes.
And if I may clarify too, as we've stated, the decision is based on these criteria. And so I'd just like to clarify that any discussion on the pipeline would be under criteria number 3, basically. So just to keep that in mind.
We need to repeat that. So that, we have a motion on the table to approve, subject to the statement that Dave put out. And that criteria between the, I forgot the name of the gas company, Iowa Northern Gas or something, Iowa Northern Gas restrictions and the impact that tower may have on their underground utility that was previously put in place that would be addressed. And you're going to be the lead on that, right? What's the name of US Cellular? And it would advise the Woodbury County office of, I didn't state the whole thing like it's going to be written, but are we okay with that?
You guys think that's reasonable? A reasonable request to make sure that you and Northern Natural Gas come to terms?
That'd be subject to the approval of the building permit, to have that information in the county's hands.
Yeah, prior to the building permit issuance, have that information to Woodbury County.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, if there's a condition in the issuing of the permit relating to that, then,
Yeah. And we'll accept any, written acknowledgement of consensus between the two parties.
I think you're good to judge that.
And I would suggest some language in there basing that on the criteria 3. If we stick close to the ordinance there, that would be my recommendation, as well as acknowledgement of the note in the motion about elevating based on the floodplain. That should be about the accessory based on Mr. Capuccio's comments.
Okay, I see where you're at.
And that would be similar to what the zoning commission had recommended as well over on page 15.
Okay.
So we can hang that specific condition to criteria
Yeah.
and utility facilities.
That'll be in the minutes then.
Okay.
Do they understand that it's got to be 3?
Folks, have you been made aware that because you don't have a full quorum, you do have, the applicant has the right to choose whether or not you want to call a vote or if you want to wait until you have a full commission.
So if there's any one person that denies it, that goes application.
Right now. Okay.
So-
I'd like to make a recommendation, is it time for this? I'd like to make a recommendation that we approve the conditional use permit based with the language that Dan referenced on the floodplain, that is met, and that you guys receive adequate acknowledgement that these two companies have come to an agreement on that they can meet this criteria.
Yeah.
And however you word that, I guess.
I will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. So you'll be in touch with the county?
Yes.
Anybody else have anything to say? You have any other issues to take care of?
Are these permits easier to get than what they used to be, or they still, I mean, self-empowered, that's usually the.
It all depends on where you're at. You got, honestly, all depends on what jurisdiction you're in.
Here, a motion to adjourn? Oops.
I just have a question. So do we need to amend our, and it's not us, does planning and zoning need to amend section 5.05?
Yes.
That's not really anything we do, so. Is that-
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All opposed, same sign?
Aye.
We are moved. Yeah, I'm sorry to be a sticker there, but